our Terry Peters is a wonderful individual. She is a local pharmacist with Capital Region Health, one of our large healthcare systems here. She is also an entrepreneur and has had a very successful business as a owner and CEO of a compounding pharmacy here in what we call Capitol Heights, which is a part of Prince George's County. And today we're very glad to have Terry here because she also represents a women's organization that I have the pleasure of having joined this year myself, a National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Prince George's County chapter that tag teams with other chapters and other nonprofits, not only in our local community, but communities across the country, the Caribbean diaspora, and across the world. So we're welcoming here. We know that you have an amazing bio, and we could take the entire show literally going through your entire bio. And we were going to have you talk a little bit about who you are as we talk about some very critical things that are in place. And we're so fortunate. Look who is joining us as well from the United Kingdom. Colin Carberry. Colin is coming in from the United Kingdom and represents our entire organization of speakers and what we're doing, the Reset program and JumpStart initiatives in the UK. Welcome, Colin. We love the fact that you're going to join us today.
That's wonderful.
All right, so let's hop right into this. Terry, can you hear us? Give us a thumbs up if you can. All right, perfect.
And I have one really quick question, Terry. We've all gone to the pharmacy, and I normally know a pharmacist is a person that takes something from the large bottle of pills and puts it in a smaller bottle of pills. You are a compound pharmacist. Can you tell us what that is and why that's important?
The difference between a compound pharmacist and your local, can you hear me? I'm unmuted. Hello? I'm unmuted. Uh-oh.
We can't hear you, but we can see your wonderful, beautiful lips moving. Just keep on talking.
Okay, I hit share screen. Can you hear me now? No. I don't know what's going on.
So you want to restate your question for Terry?
And Terry, are you able to hear us?
Well,
because we can't hear you yet. This is the beauty of live TV and live streaming.
Other people can hear me, so I'm going to continue speaking. So the difference between compounding pharmacy and your typical...
Linda's going to be doing some things behind the screen, behind the scenes, to get us some volume for Terry.
So what we're doing, because this is live television, we are going to let Terry communicate. So Terry, we can hear you, we can see you. You're doing great.
Okay, I got a text that somebody can actually hear me.
Yes, so go right ahead and tell us in response to Carolyn's question. And then we're just going to keep on going. We love live television and we love live radio.
Okay, so the difference between a compounding pharmacy and your typical outpatient pharmacy is that, like you said, Carolyn, the medications come out of a bottle that's been manufactured in a large, huge quantity by the companies, big pharma. And the difference between them and a compounding pharmacy is we actually take the pure USP product that they use to make their tablets. We use the same product at a much smaller volume to customize medications for people who have allergies, sensitivities, or need specific bases that may have dyes in them. In your commercially available products. So it may be, we can make it dye-free, gluten-free, and those other things that people have sensitivities to. We can also put it in dosage forms that they can manage. So if someone has difficulty swallowing, we can customize it so that they can it can be liquefied or make a suppository or a gel or a cream. That's the difference between a compounding pharmacist and a local outpatient pharmacist, which they are my colleagues. So oftentimes they actually send their patients to me so that they don't have to have delays in their care.
Wonderful. Okay, well, that's wonderful. And you know something, I know, what's the name of your pharmacy?
Quality of Life Pharmacy and Health Incorporated.
Okay, thank you for that, Terry. So let's talk about COVID-19 and let's talk about two the P's that we have been hearing one more of and one less of. And one we have heard called protection. What should we do to protect ourselves has been really the mantra, really the guideline. How do we protect ourselves against COVID? But let's talk about the other P that people may not be aware of. Can you share that other P? I bet you didn't know that, Carolyn.
No, I really didn't.
Can you hear me? No. Okay. The other piece that goes with protection is outward. What we want to work on is prevention. And that's not what's really being talked about. A lot of times they kind of talk about it a little bit by saying, oh, if you have comorbidities, you're at higher risk. But nobody really talks about what you can do naturally to build the immune system. So we're talking about what you eat, what you drink, how you sleep. Those are the type of things that you want to address. You all can't hear me, can you?
We can hear.
We're good. You said sleep. Yes, that's good.
Right, because the lack of sleep depletes your immunity, and it can send you into a downward spiral. Now, while people may celebrate that the state is opening up more on this Friday, this is flu season. This is the beginning of flu season, and it's going to be very difficult to differentiate between the flu, which is a virus, and COVID-19, which is a virus. The problem with COVID-19 is that it manifests itself in so many different ways that it's going to be difficult to differentiate. And the longer treatment it takes for you to receive treatment, the worse your outcome. So that's why it's important to still protect yourself, but at the same time, you need to also do preventative measures to keep yourself healthy. So you need to eat those dark green leafy vegetables. You need to drink plenty of water. You need to eat healthier. If you have high blood pressure, work on getting your blood pressure down. If you have high cholesterol, change your diet to get those cholesterol numbers down. If you have diabetes, get your A1C down below 7. Those are the types of things that you're going to want to do to make sure that you don't have any issues that could put you in a position for this opportunistic virus. Because really it is an opportunistic virus. It will take advantage of your weakened system. And that's why it manifests in so many different ways. Some people have even complained of stomach aches and discomfort in their gut, and it turns out they have COVID. So it's not just sneezing, runny nose. And another thing you need to know is your nostrils harbor a lot of nastiness, a lot of bacteria and viruses that you don't even know because your immune system keeps it in check. That's why when I see people with masks on and their nostrils are hanging over their mask, I look at them and I tell them, please cover your nostrils because you're at risk. You need to cover your mouth, your nose, and your eyes. They need to be protected.
So it's the protection. And what's the other P again?
Prevention.
So this is the new call for us. The call to action is all about prevention and prevention from COVID, because we didn't think we could prevent ourselves. We couldn't go into a self-management strategy that actually prevented ourselves, because what we're seeing now is what are you seeing in the hospitals where you work and where your colleagues work? What's now the trending moving forward?
Well, one thing that I'm very proud of is that from April to now, we have learned so much about the infection that we actually had to open up an additional unit for post-COVID treatment, which before people were just dying. Now people are surviving and they need to have follow-up care. This is the challenge that people are not talking about. The follow-up care, some people are having to receive wound care treatment because of the opportunistic infections that get into the skin. Some people may require extra respiratory treatment because of the fibrosis that occurs when COVID attacks the lungs. The heart is at risk. So they ended up with issues with their heart, and some medications that people take could slow their heart rate down too much, or drug interactions. Since pharmacists are now doing even more clinical reviews of medications and following various guidelines that have been set forth, we're starting to see people recover. Recovery doesn't mean that they are completely healed. They're recovering, but they have a lot of what we call post-COVID syndrome. It actually has a name. And depending on the weakness in your body, you could end up with neuropathies, which is nerve damage, just like with diabetes. Very similar post-COVID illnesses that carry on longer than 2 weeks. So it's very important. The best way to avoid this is to prevention. Don't get it. Don't put yourself in a position where you can get it. Wash your hands, cover your nose, your mouth, protect your eyes. If you're in groups of larger groups, you definitely have to use that hand sanitizer until you can get to a sink and wash your hands. It's very important to protect yourself because again, it doesn't say when you get COVID-19 manifests itself as pneumonia. In children, we've seen it in some of the skin. It looks like Kawasaki, so it's a burning, a red tongue, and then discolorations of the hands, big rashes on the skin. And with the little people, they don't have a lot of surface area. So a lot of damage can be done. So you really have to protect your children and protect yourselves. I see people with babies unmasked because of their age and they can't go outside. Leave them home. Don't bring them out in these public places, especially now. It is flu season.
Now, when does flu season officially start? I'm sorry for cutting you off. When does flu season officially start?
Now, about the end of August. Pretty much people come back from their summer vacation.
Okay.
And so one of the things, Terry, as an entrepreneur and as a member of various community groups, tell us a little bit about what you're doing inside of your organization. The National Coalition of 100 Black Women. What is happening? How are you using that platform to communicate health messages to the Prince George's community in Maryland as a state, but also similar messaging across the country through other chapters and other organizations?
Well, what I love about the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, and one of the reasons why I'm very happy that I was brought into the organization, is the health committee. They have various initiatives to address the health disparities in our community and to make sure that people have access to better health care. And also what's very important is that through the health committee, throughout the year, we spend time educating about breast cancer, colon cancer, diabetes, hypertension, HIV. We try to attack all of these disease states by making sure that our community is educated and can be empowered to do something about their disease. They don't have to be a victim. And again, it's all about prevention. If the more you know what to do, the more you can protect yourself. So it's very important. So we have very excellent initiatives that throughout the entire country, we're posted everywhere throughout this country, and we collaborate, communicate, and we try to make sure that we do whatever we can to get this information out to the community.
That's excellent because, oftentimes women have to make a lot of health decisions. Wouldn't you say, Carolyn?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the things that we get tasked with almost by default.
And that knowing what we need to know, and with experts such as yourself and others, part of the health committee, and those who are in the community, the more information we have, the more we can actually activate personal and family and community prevention strategies. Now, one of the issues that we know about COVID-19 is that it has decimated the economy on some level for some people. Some people are thriving. Some people are not thriving. Which side, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening with your business and how you're jumpstarting at this point?
Well, one of the things that has helped us is the most important thing I would tell any business owner is you always have to have streams of income. You can never limit yourself to just one thing. And one of the things that definitely helped was our collaboration. We were working with making sure as soon as we had access, as soon as you were able to, you provided us Quality of Life Pharmacy with face masks. And we were able to make sure that everybody that we knew, family, friends, colleagues, anybody that we knew that could not access face masks, we made sure they were able to get these face masks. I sold 154 face masks in 1 hour. That's how quickly, how seriously people took this. And I am happy to say that in that circle, I have heard of maybe 3 people that have actually suffered from COVID. And we've had a couple of loss of lives, but I know some other people that have dealt with over 40 people, Zoom funerals that they've had to attend.
Wow.
It's horrific. So the first thing I sent out was how to create your antiviral arsenal. And I had everybody taking supplements and anything they could to keep themselves healthy. That's what I did on my part, was to try to get as much information out. And thanks to the collaboration with Linda, we were able to get a lot of face masks out. And remember, I said 154 in the first hour. Continue to sell more even after that. So,
well, let me ask you, Terry. You said to get this kit together for it. What are you recommending for me today? You just made me aware that it is officially flu season. I thought we had another few weeks. Yeah. So what should I do today when I leave here today? What should I be doing, or what should I have at my disposal?
Well, for me personally, because of the industry I work in, and I work in the hospital setting when I'm not at my pharmacy, we're actually going to go ahead and get our flu shots early this year. So I have no choice. I have to. So I'm getting my flu. Usually I wait till the very last minute to get mine, the very last day. But this year I'm going to go ahead and get my flu shot early. Okay. Other things that you can do is very important. When you drink that first bottle of water in the morning, you're actually cleansing yesterday's waste out. So start your day with, I would say, if you really want to, depending on what you ate, especially if you ate heavy meat the night before or something like that, clean up your liver, clean up your kidneys. Drink the juice of half of a lemon into a bottle of water. That's your vitamin C, and that's a nice natural detox. And then hydrate yourself well through the day up until at least 8 p.m. so that you're not waking up in the middle of the night going to the bathroom. That's number one. I tell everybody to keep zinc handy. Get yourself a bottle of zinc. Do the zinc test. It's a cheap way of not having to do lab work. One of the first signs that you're getting COVID is, they talked about early, is you lose your sense of taste and smell. And unfortunately, by the time you get to that point, there's something going on in your brain. COVID is attacking something in your brain. So what you can do is keep a bottle of Coldies. I actually bought the gummies, and I tell people, hold it in your mouth until it begins to slowly dissolve. If it has a horrible bitter taste, that means your zinc levels are fine. That means your immune system is doing its job. But if it still tastes sweet, you need to continue taking zinc. You need to be on zinc. Zinc is a heavy metal, so you don't want to take zinc if you don't have to take zinc, because it can become toxic. While it's good in its normal range, if it goes above that range, it starts becoming toxic to your liver because it's a heavy metal.
So those are great tips, and I know you have a lot more. One of the questions that we have relates to, how are you and your colleagues, other pharmacists, how are you coming together? What's happening in your industry as you're contemplating medicine management, making sure people understand the impact of COVID, as you've mentioned earlier, on other parts of the body, how to get these symptoms under control? Can you talk a little bit about that? And we have about, I think about 10 minutes left here.
No, actually, I know this is the time escapes. You're going to have, between the two of you, another 4 minutes.
So I would say the pharmacist, my biggest collaborator is my husband, because he works in a different setting than I do. So that's our primary collaborations with each other. We do talk to other colleagues, and we give them the warnings, and we kind of talk about it, but we collaborate all the time about what we're doing. We make our own teas, so we'll tell people about what we're doing to protect ourselves. That's all you can really do. Pharmacists, we generally try to share information, but as far as the collaboration piece, we have some work to do as far as that. So, well, that's some of the other organizations that are starting to do it, and more pharmacists are getting involved. So,
well, that's why it's important to have community-based groups engage in this process. So, how are your patients as you talk about it? Because you're in business, and we have a COVID impact, and your patients need you. Are you seeing an increase because you're giving out such good information? Are you seeing a decrease? What can you say about that?
I have seen a decrease, and I believe that the reason why I've seen a decrease right now is because everybody is kind of quarantining themselves. They're working on themselves, and they're not really able to reach out as much because they're too busy dealing with the fear, the anxiety, the financial part. I mean, that's a big part. People who aren't working can't spend money. So for certain services, they may put certain things on the back burner until they are going back to work and getting their regular income. So there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear, especially around income and money. People don't have extra money. So they're not going to spend money on things that they see aren't as important unless it's an emergency. That's real talk.
Well,
Okay.
that's interesting. Well, you've helped me right off the bat. First of all, I need to get that flu shot. You want me to make sure I'm drinking water every day and use the juice of 1/2 lemon. Then to stay hydrated all day, which is something I tend to avoid. But a big surprise for me was to get zinc. And if it tastes bad, that's a good thing. But if it keeps tasting sweet, I need to keep tasting it because my zinc level is low.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, you mentioned drinking tea. What kind of tea should I be drinking? Can you share with us in the next minute or two?
Yes, one of the main teas that you should keep handy is a tea called throat coat. Throat coat will help boost your immune system. If you start feeling a sore throat, it takes it away very quickly. It works very well. I will always keep red raspberry and lemon ginger handy as well. We actually put a 1/4 teaspoonful of ginger and was it ginger and what else do we put in it? Turmeric. We put turmeric and ginger in our tea every day.
Okay. Well, these are the kind of tools and tips that everybody can create to create prevention, but at the same time also to protect and then to get smart about living a healthier lifestyle. That's the key here as individuals, process this COVID-19. We hear your husband. It sounds like he might want to say something. Is that what he wants to do?
Well, he just reminded me, since you said something about collaboration, I cannot leave out the National Pharmaceutical Association.
Okay.
He is a board member of the National Pharmaceutical Association. He's the treasurer. And he reminded me, yes, in November, the pharmacists will be collaborating. We'll be talking about COVID-19 as well as the health disparities as well. And it's actually going to be a virtual event. So
we applaud the industry because we know that you're working with the pharmaceutical companies. We know that you're working with community groups to come up with the types of pharmaceuticals and treatment plans that will keep all of us healthy, as well as keep you and your colleagues employed, because after all, you have been impacted as much as all the other clinicians in terms of COVID-19. So we wish you well. We thank you and your colleagues, including myself at the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Prince George's County chapter, and the organization for doing what it does. Have we gotten the hook? Are we over time? Anthony Weeks, our anchor host and wonderful producer.
I promised I would deliver you with 3 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Oh my God. It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Yeah.
I had gremlins taking place here. Terry Pierce, you are fantastic. Even though I was agonized on this end, trying to figure out what was going on, the wealth of information was just really great. Linda and Carolyn, I got to tell you, they're the best, man. It's like they're just like natural. They just, when stuff kind of disconnected you, they just picked up the ball and ran with it, and I just love it. Thank you so much, ladies. I see. Let me bring in my other colleagues before we let Terry go. Let me bring in Terry Coates. That's interesting. We have Peters, and then we have our colleague Terry Coates from the New York tri-state area, and then we have Colin Carberry. He's from the UK as well, and I believe you should see them shortly.
We see Colin.
Let's see here.
Colin.
Can you see where's Terry?
We did see Terry.
I'm looking. Wait. Okay, let me add Terry.
Great.
How are you?
Because if you had some questions for Terry Peters, she'd be an awesome person to answer, because these are two other communities that mirror a lot of what's happening in the DMV.
Yeah.
Well, Terry Peters.
Absolutely. That's what I was saying. Terry Peters, if you don't mind, I apologize for the technical issues, but if my colleagues may have had if they heard the discussion, may have maybe 1 or 2 questions before you leave, if you don't mind. Okay. Ladies, you can go right ahead, and Colin as well.
Yes, Terry Peters, how are you? Thank you.
I'm good.
Thank you for being on. Hi, Linda. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Terry.
How are you? You talked about some of the things to build the immune system. Where can we find?
Your volume is Terry Coates. Your volume is low.
My volume
Terry,
is low.
coax him.
See
Your
that?
volume is low.
We can hear you. We can hear.
Okay, can you hear me now? I feel like a
You can hear her?
Yes.
We feel like
hear
a Verizon.
We can hear her beautifully.
Okay, I increased it. Where can we find some of those remedies, Terry Peters? Because I share with I wrote a book, A Busy Woman's Guide to Inner Peace, and I always have women asking me about things to improve the immune system, things to calm you down at night and help you sleep better. And so, if you could just share with us where we can find that turmeric and ginger or any of those other remedies, I would love to share it on my social media network.
Well, the good news is we have our own vitamin line. So my husband is working on setting up the website so that the people can actually order it and purchase it. The difference is I always like to do a medication review before I sell so that there's no drug interactions.
Okay.
As far as the throat coat tea, you can find that in the herbal section of where the herbal teas are, like Celestial Seasoning and Bigelow. That's where you can get your red raspberry teas and your and Yogi. They have it as well. So those are the Wegmans, Giant, Whole Foods. They have those types of teas.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing that
Hey,
information.
Terry Peter, is your husband camera shy?
And some camera shots. Go get some.
He is an amazing pharmacist and one of our really has been a state official in the pharmaceutical industry. So this is a power couple in helping to create prevention and protection. So if did you want him to come on? You know, we can do what we want to do. Or did you want him to show his face?
No, I see her conversation. So I was just curious.
Oh my.
You reminded me to tell you all to get the turmeric and the ginger. You can get raw ginger root and put it in your tea and steep it, or you can get we do a quarter teaspoonful of the powdered turmeric and the powdered ginger in our tea. Okay. And we add stevia, liquid stevia to it. No sugar. We don't do sugar. Sugar actually feeds cancer cells. Sugar also depletes your immune system. Each gram of sugar depletes your immune system. I don't know the exact number, but it does decrease your immune system every gram of sugar that you ingest. So we use stevia. And
so that's why it's very important. Terry, are you saying also, as we think about being inside, our food choices are as important to move away from, even more so now, sugar-based, process-based foods because of COVID? Think about the association with it.
I can tell you right now, one of my secret weapons is as soon as August comes, I eat about 100 grams of mushrooms. And I usually make a stir fry with spinach, sun-dried tomatoes, garlic, onion, and onions, some of the immune boosters. And I start that in the fall, just so I can get a head start. Number one, mushrooms are one of the foods that's loaded with vitamin D. You can't get vitamin D outside of a pill otherwise from mushrooms or fish, certain types of fish like salmon. And then, of course, you get your omega-3s and everything from the salmon. The spinach, you get your calcium. The tomatoes, you get your vitamin C. And then you get selenium and zinc from mushrooms. So it's in your food. A lot of it is in your food. Our first medicine cabinet is right in our kitchen. So a lot of the healing can take place just by some of the foods that you eat. Oranges, tangerines, lemons, limes. There's the white part of the lime and the orange, your citrus fruits. It contains an ingredient called naringin. And when that's taken with berberine, it will help control your blood pressure, your blood sugar, and your cholesterol. A lot of, so these are different. This is what I wanted to do as a pharmacist when I was in pharmacy school. First of all, I got tired of hearing all the disparities, all the diseases. At the top of the list were African Americans. And I said, you know what? When I met my husband, I said, we have to do something that addresses that. So we tried to really educate through compounding, saliva testing, and all of that to really try to help people to understand how your body works. Not everybody takes anatomy and physiology, but you'd be surprised if you help people understand how your body works and what it needs, how much more compliant they will be when they understand if you don't drink enough water, you go on dialysis. That's your option. Water or dialysis.
That's simple.
So that's when you have to just really just put it, as Joe Madison says, where the goats can get it. dialysis of water. And it's hard when you're wearing a mask all the time to remind yourself to drink water. If you have to set a clock, try to get those 6 to 8 cups in a day. If you're a smaller person, basically half your weight in ounces of water is what you should have unless you have kidney disease or heart failure. And so it's very important if you understand how your body works and what your body needs, and you give your body what it needs, you'll be amazed at how much better it'll be able to heal itself. Most of the people that are going into the hospital had underlying diseases that weren't being treated or being undertreated. So when they get COVID goes right and attacks the weak area of your body. Wow. That's why you have people with stroke. That's why you have people having heart attacks, because those were the areas that unbeknownst to them were weak. We have lab tests that we can look at now that will determine your risk of throwing clots. We have tests that we can look at kidney function. So it's important to make sure that your kidneys are doing their job, that you're going to the bathroom, urination and defecation. You need to do, if you're going 2-3 days and not going to the bathroom, not pooping, that's an issue. That's not normal. If you eat, you should poop, just like a baby. So then you have to look at, what am I eating? Am I eating things that my body is trying to pull nutrients from and holding on to it? And that's the reason why. Or is it because I'm dehydrated and it's not pushing the waste out of the body? So when you talk about a holistic approach to medicine, you have to talk about these issues. You have to talk about from the time it enters your mouth to the time it leaves your body, and what are you doing to make sure that your body gets what it needs. That's the bottom line, really. And that's where prevention comes from.
Well, Terry, we're going to have to bring you back on. You are a treasure trove of information, and we're going to have to turn it on
over to Anthony. I'd probably call in a question, and Terry may have had another question.
I was just asking about honey. What about honey? Is honey okay for us to use in our tea?
Honey's okay. It does cause a spike in blood sugar. That's why we like using stevia. And then also you can't use it in children because of the risk of botulism. So I tend to stay away from honey. I tend to use the stevia because it can raise your blood sugars. Yeah, try to use natural sweeteners like your fruits to sweeten, or stevia, but not too much fruit because it can spike your sugar as well. I encourage people, especially if you have issues with your blood sugar, try not to ingest more than 20 grams of sugar per meal if you're trying to get your blood sugars under control.
Okay. All right.
So Colin,
can I kick it?
Okay, I know.
It's fantastic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've learned earlier.
Right?
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
This is really fantastic to hear what Terry's saying, because this is something that I've been practicing as well. My wife is a real sort of advocate of strengthening your immune system and also improving your gut health to help your body keep infections better. And so we take lots of vitamin C, more vitamin C than normally takes, vitamin D as well. COVID, we've been taking iodine tablets to try and put some antiseptic in the immune system, cut sugar out completely, minimal carbohydrates, because carbohydrates convert into sugar, and lots of saliva testing. There's a book here, I don't know if you can see it, by a lady called Sarah Myhill. I don't know if Terry's ever heard of her, but she's a bit of a rebel doctor, but she talks about all the stuff that Terry's talking about. And it works. I know it works. I mean, I rarely get any kind of infection or cold because of what she says. And it's all the stuff that Terry has been saying. Basically, just looking after your immune system, and your immune system will look after you. So I think it's this confirmed by a professional.
Outstanding. Well, I think our next guest for the next segment is already in.
And we apologize, Anthony. We always get so excited and go over the top.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Ladies, that's fine. You're doing fine. You're doing. You can. I don't know if you want to respond to Colin's question, and then we can wrap it up from there.
Oh, the only thing I wanted to say to Colin is you're absolutely right, because your immune health does start in your gut. So it's all about what you eat. So you're absolutely right. That's where immunity starts.
That's good to know.
And we need to break the dependency on sugars. That we become addicted to sugars. So we need to break that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Terry Peters. Thank you, other co-hosts.
Thank you.
Good session. We're eager to see it. We thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Peters, you're a lifesaver. You're an angel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And your spouse, your business partner, your spouse as well. We can't leave you out. Good, good.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right, so
Thank you, Linda.
sit
Thank
tight.
Thank you, National Coalition for 100 Black Women, Prince George.
Yes.
Okay, so so I believe, let's see. I'm trying to get Terry out of queue here, but it must be my computer that's having the problem. But anyway, let me say wonderful good afternoon to our new colleague out of the Atlanta metro area, Ricardo Villanola. There he is. He's just popped up on the screen. And I believe I don't see Terry. There's a delay in the computer. Ricardo, can you hear us? Can you see and hear us, Ricardo?
I can hear you fine and clearly. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Ricardo.
Nice meeting you all.
Ricardo.
Fantastic. Same. All right, good. So I think we lost Linda and Carolyn. I still see Terry P. But anyway, okay, here we go. We're good now. So thank you so much, guys. And carrying the weight on my end. I was having a little bit of a technical issues on my end, and they did a fantastic job. We're now in the business segment, the business segment of the program, and I'm joined by my colleague Terry Cookson out of the New York tri-state area, and also Colin Carberry from the United Kingdom. And today we're going to introduce to you our Atlanta strategic partner and correspondent, the founder and CEO of La Mega Mundial, a prominent Latin or Hispanic media outlet or company in the South. Ricardo, thank you so much for taking the time to be part of the broadcast, and I want to say thank you for accepting the invite, for being part of the team. I believe the work that we're doing is very important, and I look forward to your contribution to this endeavor. And so we have
it's an honor. It's an honor to be part of the team.
Absolutely. What I'd like to do is I see that Terry and Terry Coates have a camera off, as well as Colin have their camera off. Hopefully they can chime in very shortly. But can you just give us a little bit of background of your company, and obviously being in the Atlanta area, we see the friction between the governor, Governor Kemp, and Mayor Bottom in Atlanta in terms of the direction of how the COVID-19 is being handled. But as a business owner and someone who is in communication, can you give some perspective for our audience as to what's really happening? Just kind of give us behind the scenes of what's happening in Atlanta.
And I'm glad you brought it up, Anthony. Remember the interest of both, politicians, they have different common interests. One is Republican, the other one is the Democrat. And the problem is it's getting a lot of confusion in the community. One is says we need to lock down, the other one is saying we need to open the business. But some communities, I'm here in Gwinnett County, Gwinnett County is one of the largest county in the metropolitan area. And Gwinnett has, others, okay, they have taken other measurements, a lot of people, which is they have here a highly Asian community. And the Asian community, they know, what this virus can do. And you don't see none of them on the street, okay, or even on place of business. They're always wearing the mask. So they're taking it very serious, I can tell you that. But Hispanic community, they confused too, okay? I can speak for my mom. She's 78 now, and she's paranoid. She just turned 78 years old a couple of weeks ago, and I was in New York at the time, and I flew pretty much just to be on my mother's birthday. And unfortunately, she didn't want to see me. She goes, "No, you just came from New York, and why don't you quarantine for a couple of days?" I say, "Mom, put it this way, this type of virus, you don't know who has it. Okay, some people are systematic, and other people, they don't know, if they have it. But we are facing hardship time that not even your parents, they want to hug their sons, okay, on their birthday because of too many news, too many fake news. In reality, they don't know what to believe anymore, and that is a concern. I keep doing what I have to do on a daily basis. We keep working. I keep myself busy. Matter of fact, I'm working more hours than when before the pandemic hit. It's just because you have to wake up in a time of crisis, because we are in the broadcasting industry, and every single advertisers that was sponsoring La Mega Mundial at the time when the corona came in, every single one of them, canceled the contract, and for numerous reasons. Why are you going to continue to pay for advertising when your business is closed? Okay, and I understand their situation. A lot of the business, they're not fully operated. The capacity is pretty much at 25%. They still got to pay the bills. I understand that the government trying to help and reopen the businesses. Landlords. I can speak for this plaza that I am in. The landlord, she's Asian. She's very, I can say, she's very human when it comes to the issues, but nobody's forgiving any people's debt. You still got to come out and pay your rent. They give you a leeway. You want to pay your rent in 90 days without any penalty. But bottom line is, after 90 days, then you owe more. So in my case, you see, when I woke up the day of the pandemic, I say, oh my gosh, when I received most of the cancellation, I say, I got to do something that continue to maintain the business after I worked so hard, in my career for almost 25 years. And then all of a sudden, I changed the course of my business based on the relationship that we have, because sometimes relationship, you see, is more than money that you can have in your pocket. A lot of people that have great relationship, but sometimes in a time of crisis, they don't know, how to reach out or become very creative. My core of business changed from being a broadcasting to going to the PPE business, and we're saving a lot of lives because we in the business on nitrile glove, mask, and surgical gown. But what I did was, in my network, I have friends from Asia that they are here in Atlanta, and they are in the import and export. So I transitioned my business pretty much to do this, but it was pretty much in a survival mode, and it's been very lucrative right now. But I encouraging other business people pretty much to wake up and don't let your business die, okay? Because you're gonna wait for people to come into your business. You got to do something else into everything settled. And I mean, this is not gonna be forever, but I can tell you, it can take another 1 or 2 years if the way it's going, because a lot of people is getting sick because they're not taking it serious. And the reason why they're not taking it serious, they don't even want to pay attention to news anymore. They're more in the entertainment aspect, like in social media, and they're not going to get a credible, source by what they're going to do. And that is the problem. I think what you're doing is an amazing, bringing doctors on board. And that's what I do. I talk to doctors every single day. I have doctors in the family in Dominican Republic that, you see, I tell you, the story that happened with my stepson about 2 months ago. He got coronavirus, and automatically he felt like symptoms that he's never had before. And he knew immediately. And what he did was quarantine in the house. We were giving everything, outside of his own room, putting everything in there. And when he used to come out to the kitchen, we were upstairs, so he used to clean the whole thing. So, he went like that for 2 weeks. God forbid, he's fine now after 2 months. But I can tell you, you see, a lot of people, they get scared, like, oh, if you're sick, I'm gonna have to leave you alone in the house. No, we would never do that as a family. Okay, we gotta combat this virus, and we, in a sense, way that, but we have to be aware exactly what we need to do. It's nothing to get panic. Okay, And I heard the doctor what she was saying. She's right. You are what you eat. Okay, if you're not taking care of your diet, more than likely your immune system, okay, is going to become weaker and weaker. And when you worry too much, your immune system also is going to be weak because you worry, you're stressing out. I think you have to continue to do what you do. Okay, there's a lot of opportunity right now, and it comes down to your circle. I mean, and who you are as a person and as a leader.
Well, let me just say that was quite sort of filler in terms of what you shared with us. But I can't help but wonder as I'm watching Terry, and I watched the report coming out of the New York Tri-State, particularly New York, where Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio were at times they were contradicting each other. And so I was just wondering, Terry, some of the stuff that you see playing out, we're all getting the same news. The governor sort of conflicting with, contradicting the mayor of Atlanta. Of course, we're all business people. You're doing business in New York. Terry, based on what you heard from Ricardo, are you surprised of the sort of the conflict or the contradiction between the governor and the mayor? Because we saw some of that on playing out in New York, in the state of New York as well.
She's muted. Are you muted?
Unmute your mic. Yeah. She.
Okay.
Unmute your mic.
Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Mm-hmm.
Verizon.
Yes.
Say that being in all branches of government throughout my career, both the federal government under the Obama administration and with Chuck Schumer, and being also in the city government with the DA, and then in state government with the senator, I've watched politics play itself out in so many different ways. I think, and I'm not surprised, Ricardo, at the differences with your mayor and your governor. My mayor and my governor, they have the interests of New York in mind, but they also have their view on how it should play itself out. Like right now, the schools are looking to open back up. They're going to do a hybrid model. The governor is saying, I need to have your plan in. I need to have a clear plan in. I need to know how you're doing it, or I'm not going to allow you to open. The city, the mayor is saying, listen, I believe in the plan that was given to me. Let's open. And so we got a lot of back and forth going on. The charter schools open, but they open primarily virtually. The city now is saying we're going to push back the opening from the 6th, and we're going to push it back to, I believe they said the 16th, and it's going to be a couple of days of virtual first, and then we'll phase it in. So I can understand why your mayor and governor are going at it. I think that at the end, though, the small businesses are the ones that are really hurting. The classrooms, the teachers, we're the ones that are really have to pull it together and make it work out no matter what they're doing. One of the biggest things here in New York, the restaurants are suffering because you can't go into the restaurants and have a meal. The restaurants that don't have an outside space, they're not able to open at all. They're not able to have people sit down and have a meal outside. And so that's hurting our economy. So politics will play its part. But Ricardo, I want to commend you and your family for one, being very creative and going into another field with the PPE and making sure that you're using your resources because relationships matter, and also being there with your family member and giving this team a very honest assessment of how COVID has affected your family and how you're able to push through that. And so I want to commend you for sharing that with us this morning as well.
Thank you. And here in Atlanta, I think the mayor, she has more credibility, when she talks about, all the measures that they need to take, because she had coronavirus, okay, about a month or so.
Right.
And so she understands what's going on. Okay. When you have it, I tell you, in New York, like I said, I was in New York a couple of weeks ago. I understand. I mean, it's very uncomfortable to sit down outside of New York City. The train is above you, so noisy. Then it's polluted. All there's pollution, around your food.
Easy.
And I say, this is crazy, and everything. The price has gone through the roof because they have to stay open, and for them to stay open, they got to increase the prices. And it's unfortunately, but in a way, okay, you sitting outside, Okay, like I say, we all this noise, we all this pollution around, your food and everything, but it is a joke sometimes. Once you're there, everybody's mingling and everything, and I don't understand whether they're going to open for good or they're going to close for good. And I believe we got to go into more drastically, shut down the whole country for 30 days, okay? And let's see what happens. Let people know ahead of time, this is exactly, we're going to do this type of curfew. And at least people are prepared. But when you go back and forth, in Atlanta and Georgia, they already open school. They're giving just the option to people to stay at home and do it virtually. But not everybody has that luxury to stay home. See, parent needs to go to work. They cannot keep the kids, okay, at home. And I tell you, only, the middle, low class people is going to be hurting even more. It's just because they need to go to work.
I got to comment on a couple of things. So I think that their version of shutting the country down was the pause that we experienced. And I know New York, we were shut down. We had curfew, something I thought we would never experience in my lifetime. We weren't able to come out. You had to have on your mask. You couldn't go into the subway without it. You couldn't enter the front of the bus. So they took a lot of drastic measures to kind of really get a handle on the pandemic. And with those measures, our numbers went down. That's number one. Number two is New York are tenacious, just like Jersey, just like a lot of other places, Connecticut. We will find a way to make it work out. I think closing down the restaurants completely in the beginning was the right thing to do. Getting a handle on it, figuring out what do we need to do to social distance was the right thing to do. I think now, though, as we're coming back together, we have to be a little more creative with how we're going to keep things open and not go back to that pandemic state, because our numbers were through the roof. We had the highest numbers. And
that is correct.
The governor and the mayor, even though they were at odds with the way to do it, they were adamant about doing it. And right across the bridge in New Jersey, the same thing with the governor and the mayor is there, and also in Connecticut. And so what I'm saying is I have to push back a little bit on closing everything down, because we did close down. We had curfews. We cleaned up. We're checking sewage. We're checking, the water systems. We're making sure that the air quality is up to par. And all of those things we're doing, but we have to do it collectively. One of the things that we discussed on our last call is that New York has a lot of ports of entry. And so when we talked about the Virgin Islands and different places and them being able to contain the pandemic, it's because they had one port of entry. New York has several port of entries, whether you're coming in by rail, or you're coming in on the bus, or you're driving in, or you're taking a plane in. And that kind of really hindered us, getting a hold on it immediately. But I think that we are doing a good job. New Jersey, the same things, a lot of port of entry. I think what we need to now focus on, though, is our businesses. Our businesses are suffering. They're hurting. And we need to figure out how to, do like you did, Ricardo, how to pivot, how to come into some other things that are creative that we can do. One of the things that we did here was, you didn't agree with it completely, but having the outside places for businesses to eat, because remember, before that, they were completely shut down.
Yeah, I had experience in New York. I grew up in New York, Terry, and I grew up between Queens and Yonkers. But when I went there, go ahead.
One second, colleague. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let's close out this segment. Let's close out this segment because we have the second segment. So just bear with me. Can you guys, by the way, I'm not sure if can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear you. Just a bit. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So let me close out the first show for this segment, and then if you don't mind, you have the link for the second segment. Please chime back in on the second segment with the link I sent you guys. All right, folks. That was the first segment of the marketplace here on JumpStart, and we will talk to you on the next segment.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.